Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. So I am in Copenhagen, Denmark right now. I wanted to film this video outside, but the weather is not cooperating. It's been raining on and off all day. So unfortunately that means I have to film this review indoors. So the reason I'm here in Europe is because I'm going to be going to Berlin to attend the IFA trade show in a couple of days. So before all that madness starts, I want to get this review out of the way. This is my review of the Xiaomi Mix Fold 2. I've been using this phone heavily for the past 10 days in Singapore and then a little bit here in Copenhagen. So to start this review, I think it's worth asking several questions. So the first is, does this new phone bring anything new to the phone industry? Like, is it doing something that nobody else has done before? And then two, if the answer is yes, do these new things actually matter? Are they gimmicks or did they actually improve the overall usability of the device? And the third question is the Mix Fold 2 better than other competing devices in its class? So to answer the first question, is there anything new that Xiaomi brought to the table? The answer is an obvious yes, because the Mix Fold 2 is the lightest and thinnest foldable phone around. I mean, I've been using this thing for like 10 days. I still can't get over how thin this is. 5.4 millimeters in thickness when unfolded. And then when you fold it up, 11.2 millimeters. This is significantly thinner than the Galaxy Z Fold 4. The thickness is quite a big difference, particularly because Samsung's hinge still does not fold entirely flat. In fact, the Mix Fold 2 is almost as thin as the Microsoft Surface Duo. This is that two-screen phone that Microsoft released, and it's notoriously famous for having bad software, but really thin hardware. And then if you look at the two, they're almost the same thickness. So that means the Mix Fold 2 has finally solved one of the biggest complaints of foldable phones. They were too bulky and too thick. So Xiaomi has done what no other brand has managed to do so far. It made a large two-screen inner folding foldable that feels like a slab phone when it's folded. This is barely heavier than my iPhone 13 Pro Max with a case. Now this ultra thinness does come with a cost. The Mix Fold 2 doesn't have wireless charging. To be honest, I don't really care about that. I mean, wireless charging is nice to have, but it's not like a must-have feature for me. However, the hinge also doesn't have a flex mode. So flex mode is what Samsung calls this. It's when the hinge can stay open midway and it stays completely stiff. So that's pretty cool because you can now use the Fold 4 as like its own tripod. I can put this here and then just film myself. I can vlog in front of it or I can shoot a time lapse out the window. I don't need to prop the phone against something. I don't need a tripod. But the hinge is well built otherwise. Like when you open and close, it doesn't feel flimsy. Like you see, even though it doesn't have a flex mode, it's not like the hinge is very floppy, you know, not like the original Galaxy Fold. So another thing Xiaomi did that I love is it made the outside screen a proper smartphone aspect ratio. So this is a 6.5-inch OLED panel, 120 Hz with a 20:9 aspect ratio. So that's basically a modern Android flagship aspect ratio. So that means when you're using this phone in folder form, it feels much more like a typical phone than with a Galaxy Z Fold 4. Now the Z Fold 4 already improves matter a little bit because Samsung actually increased the width of the phone by a little bit, but when I'm typing on this thing, it still feels a little bit cramped. I can pound away at the keyboard on the Mix Fold 2 like I would on an iPhone 13 Pro Max, two-handed typing going full speed. Now conversely, because the aspect ratio for the outside screen is good, it's normal, that means when the phone is unfolded, the aspect ratio, it's a little bit different. Now this is a 4 by 3.55 aspect ratio, so it's almost a perfect square. And some apps like Instagram just doesn't look nice on a perfectly square screen. What the hell is this guy doing? Now Xiaomi does give you the option to jump into settings and change the aspect ratio of how the app is displayed. And then when you do that, Instagram will run in a shape that's more normal, but you get these major pillar boxing, these little bars on the side. Likewise for when you're watching videos, whether it's YouTube or Netflix, you're always going to get these major letterboxing, these black bars at the top and bottom. So this is ironic that the Mix Fold 2 suffers from this problem now, because if you remember, the first Mix Fold had that really elongated aspect ratio, and Xiaomi's boss, Lei Jun, actually reasoned that he made that form factor like that so that when you unfold the Mix Fold, the first one, the inside screen was a rectangle, was a portrait orientation, and that's not the case here anymore. So I'm a little bit torn. On one hand, the Mix Fold 2's outside screen is awesome, but then the inside screen is slightly harder to use than before. But I'm ultimately nitpicking because the screen looks absolutely brilliant, and the crease, it's there if you really want to look for it. Like if you shine light on an extreme angle, you might see it, but otherwise, When you run your finger through it, you don't really feel it that much. And when you tilt it a little bit, you don't see it that much. You have to tilt it a lot more to see it. Now, despite the fact that Xiaomi made the phone so thin and light, there's still a 4,500 mAh battery inside, and paired with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, I've been getting really good battery life. I've been using this phone heavily as my daily driver for 12 to 13 hours a day, and the phone will still come back home to the hotel room with like 20 to 30% battery life left. So the Mix Fold 2 runs on a special edition of MIUI called MIUI Fold. It basically behaves mostly like MIUI, except that when the screen is unfolded, you have 3 extra app icons here in the bottom row. These will show you your most recently used app. So for example, if I open up Grab and I close it, then Grab will be here. I open up Netflix, close it, Netflix will be here. So these 3 app icons are your 3 most recently used apps. You also have this slide over menu. You can put any app you want on it, and if you tap on that app, it will open it in a floating window, a small floating window. And you see I was able to flip the app to go over to the corner like that, to flick it away. Just like that. I can open up to 2 apps at the same time like this. So I have Google Maps, I have Twitter. And these apps can be resized. I can make them larger, I can make them smaller. I can flick them to the side. If I don't want to look at them yet, I can bring them back whenever I want. And when I'm done, I want to close it, just flick it up and it will be closed. Unfortunately, this software suffers from the same shortcoming that I have with the Vivo X Fold, meaning you can run 2 apps in split screen mode, but you can only split the app vertically. So see, I can open Twitter and Chrome side by side like this, but I cannot split it horizontally. Now, I usually don't need to split apps horizontally because vertically is perfectly fine. But when you're trying to watch YouTube, splitting an app horizontally is much better. When you split an app vertically in YouTube, it doesn't make sense because then you have crazy letterboxing. To watch a video like this, it looks ridiculous. Now this is where Samsung software is a little bit more polished. I have the Z Fold 4 here running YouTube on the right side, web browser on the left. If I tap on this little icon, I can switch it to split the app horizontally. Now I get to play video on the bottom half of the screen, and just, you get so much more space. Other than this, I don't have many problems with software. You can install Google on your own and it runs perfectly fine because Google Mobile Services is part of the phone. And push notifications. When you first set up the phone by default, you will get some delays, but there are ways to fix it. So what I do is I jump into settings, battery, turn off battery optimization for the apps that you want to get notification. And I jump into individual apps permissions and turn on auto start. Once I've done both of those, I'm able to get notifications coming through in a timely manner. Now, it is annoying that you have to do all these things just to get notifications in a timely manner, but that's just something that all Chinese phone softwares do. I don't know why, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Okay, now let's look at the camera. So we have a main camera, 50 megapixel Sony IMX sensor. The main camera produces lively, vibrant, detailed photos, and I'm really impressed with its low light performance. So the combination of pixel binning and I guess the slightly relatively large image sensor helps the phone pull in a lot of light. If you look at all these night shots, some of them don't even look like night shots at all, so that's not always a good thing. But in general though, you don't have to use night mode at all if you're shooting the main camera of the Mix Fold 2. For a foldable phone, I think this main camera performance is good. Now the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera is solid. During the day with good lighting, everything looks fine, but then at night, as usual, details are going to be quite soft. However, I think Xiaomi's image processing is quite good. Whether it's the main or ultra-wide camera, I can shoot against harsh backlight and the HDR processing is really good. Just look at these photos here. Everything is perfectly balanced even though I'm shooting out a window with really harsh light coming in. The front-facing camera is okay too. It gets the job done. I'm not really a selfie person, and also this phone gives you the option to use the main camera system to take selfies if you so choose. Now the only camera I'm going to nitpick is this, the 8 megapixel 2x telephoto zoom lens. So while the 2x zoom shot actually still looks surprisingly good and sharp, anything beyond 2x is just very soft. You only get up to 10x maximum digital zoom. But even comparing against another foldable phone, like the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 with a 3x telephoto zoom lens, the Xiaomi Mix Fold 2 zoom lens just falls short. Video performance too, you get pretty good stabilization during the day. At night you do have some micro jitters. You can shoot all the way up to 8K at 24 FPS, but I wouldn't do that. Just stick to 4K 30 to get the best balance of everything. Shout out to the ultra wide camera in the middle of filming, which not all Xiaomi phones can do. And you can also zoom in to the telephoto zoom lens. So I guess the last question is the Mix Fold 2 a better device than competing devices in this class? I would say for the hardware, the in-hand feel, that's a definite yes. This is the first large inner folding foldable phone to not feel too heavy. I'm someone who wears basketball shorts and sweatpants a lot, and you know, those don't have a belt loop. You just have to use elastic. So sometimes when I use a phone that's a little bit heavy, like the Vivo X Fold, it will actually weigh down one side of my pants. So I'll be walking or jogging, and I'll notice one side of my pants is sagging lower than the other because the phone is so heavy. I don't get that with the Xiaomi Mix Fold 2 because this feels no heavier than a Galaxy S22 Ultra or iPhone 13 Pro Max. Likewise with the thickness, I just still can't believe that a large two-screen foldable can be this thin. The same thickness virtually as the Microsoft Surface Duo. However, I'm disappointed by the lack of a flex mode and the mediocre zoom lens. But I guess that's forgivable considering this phone is relatively low price. Like Samsung's selling this thing for 1,800 US dollars. Xiaomi's selling this for 9,000 yuan, which converts to about $1,300. So that's $500 cheaper than what the Galaxy Z Fold 4 sells for. Now to be fair, you only really get this $1,300 price if you live in China or you live in Hong Kong. If you import this thing to anywhere else, the price is going to get bumped up to like, I don't know, 1,600, 1,500. But even at that price, that's still cheaper than the Galaxy Z Fold 4. And for 9,000 yuan slash 1,300 US dollars, the Mix Fold 2 is a no-brainer recommendation because even with all the shortcomings, I feel like the positive just outweigh everything. Xiaomi's definitely created something that even if it's not for you, you still have to admire what Xiaomi has done making a device this thin. And this pushes the industry forward because now that Xiaomi has established that you can make a foldable this thin and this light, other brands have to follow suit. Like the next Vivo foldable, the next Oppo foldable, whenever OnePlus does a foldable, they have to get at least this thin and this light or else people are going to criticize them. Now maybe Samsung can still get away with this slightly bulky design next year because they have no competition. But I feel like if 2 years from now Samsung is still putting this design out, they will start feeling the heat from fans. So it's good that there's competition that's pushing the tech forward. Even if the Galaxy Z Fold 4 is a better device for you, and it probably is because it also has IPX8 water resistance, S Pen, and also it will sell officially in wherever you are. So this phone is still probably the better foldable device for you, but I am so happy this exists because it pushes the industry forward. So anyway, that's about it for this review of the Xiaomi Mix Fold 2. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. I will have a lot more content coming up later this week because IFA is starting and there's a lot of stuff. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.